All right, our Wes Hohenstein is on location tonight. He's at the Nasher Museum in Durham, celebrating some of our area's finest young artists. But Wes, very few people celebrating the weather today, are we?
No, not really. Temperatures today, Penn, did not make it out of the 40s. Luckily, inside the Nasher Museum of Art here at Duke University, it's a toasty 75 degrees. The other thing we were dealing with was rain, and I'll start off with radar before we talk about what's going on inside the museum tonight. And as you can see, there's a lot less rain than there was. The good news is we have drastic improvements tomorrow, but through February, you'll have one of the best art exhibits in the world here at the Nasher Museum. People like Matisse, Picasso, and Van Gogh, all here on loan from the museum in Baltimore. Used to be owned by the Cohn sisters back in the early 1900s. The Cohn sisters had brothers who lived in North Carolina. If you owned a pair of Levi's in the early 1900s, they probably helped make them. They happened to loan some money to the Cohn sisters to purchase all this, and we have one of the descendants that we'll talk to in just a few minutes. And of course, we got a weekend coming up. We'll look at that all live up at Duke University, guys.
Wes Hohenstein using his inside voice in the museum. We'll see you back in a bit.
Exactly.
All right, a cold, rainy day. Perfect chance to check out the museum.
Yeah, a new exhibit is giving young artists a chance to show off their work. Our chief meteorologist, Wes Hohenstein, live at the Nasher Museum of Art in Durham. Hey, Wes.
Hey guys, good evening to you and good evening at home. Yeah, we've been showing kids art of Matisse all week long. Well, behind me is the real thing as this exhibit is here. Probably one of the best collections of this kind of art in the whole world here through February. But it's hard to ignore what I had to walk through and what you had to walk through throughout the day today. Cold and wet weather. And as we showed you earlier, some of that rain is still around next week. And once again, one of the rare live broadcasts inside the Nasher Museum of Art here at Duke University. And Nancy Ramage is with us. She's a professor up at Ithaca College in New York, and I was blaming her for bringing the cold weather earlier. But tonight she's here as a descendant of the Cohn sisters. And I mentioned to our viewers earlier the Cohn brothers. We all know who they are, but you're the great-great niece of the Cohn sisters. How did they get involved with all this wonderful art?
The two sisters, who were, by the way, 2 of 3 girls and 10 boys. The third sister was my great-grandmother. The 2 sisters who collected this art were way ahead of their time. We don't really know how they got so comfortable with this advanced art.
They were radical. I mean, this was radical art, and they're making friends with these incredibly soon-to-be famous artists, right?
That's right, but they made friends with them before they were well known. And they bought paintings and drawings and sculpture when they were not so expensive, although later they did get expensive. And they knew the artists, and they loved the personal contact with Matisse and Picasso and many others.
And this was all happening in France, and they brought it back to the United States, right?
That's right. And in Baltimore, where they lived, everyone thought they were crazy to be buying this very modern art. But they stuck with it, and although they dressed in very conservative clothing and black dresses down to their ankles, they were buying this very modern art. I wrote a book about them with my mother, who is now deceased, but together we tried to tell the story of the 2 sisters and their family history, and also it's an art historical book because I'm an art historian and so was my mother.
Right, and all this is on display for everyone to see through February here at Duke University, and she's speaking later tonight. So despite the cold weather, we thank you for coming down. And guys, we'll toss it back to you in the probably incredibly warm studios compared to those 40s outside today, right?
Yeah, that's true. Thanks, Wes.
We're coming right back.